What is up guys, Wraec is here with a new video, and today we are going to have a look at Realmsgate Void Corruption 140. Yeah, that's the new max level actually. And we looked at Void Corruption 121 before. Now I'm actually at 140, have been there for a few days, optimizing my teams a little bit, and now we can actually have a look at the performance of them. First of all, I have to say those enemies are super fast, like 2700 speed on average for all of those at 140, so that's pretty insane and makes it pretty hard to even outspeed them. You of course get some monster speed buffs, you get some speed buffs from your artifacts and everything, and at T5 heroes with like high tiers on speed and everything, you can of course reach that speed level and outspeed, but we really outspeed at that point only with like the SFX. And the way I basically made this team is, the idea is you get a kill with the SFX on turn 1, and then LFA spreads the CC over all of the enemies, and then you get a big impeccable flow active, and that basically ends the fight. I had Ferric Vessel in here before, which was nice to have her in the front row. Just encountered a little problem with the crit RNG. And she wasn't Homeowner anymore, so she was pretty weak, her heal was pretty weak, and now I put Mockman in here. We use Mockman core now, and the upside of Mockman core is of course if you use Mockman in the back row, it's a 24% increase for the crit chance for my SFX, and that is actually quite huge, as it mostly comes down to getting proper crits on turn 1 to actually get the kill, and now this basically fixes it a bit. Even though our Mockman doesn't have Giant Killer and uses only a Demon Bell here, he's still pretty decent, and even without Giant Killer does some decent damage. Could have done even more here, and we can get some decent kills with it. Of course now the Kustin did a whole lot of damage, but it is still working pretty fine. And for the most part the regular enemies are not a problem with this team. You can of course get unlucky with the LFA CC, but as long as SFX gets the kill on turn 1, we are mostly fine. Even if we don't get like the best CC ever, it mostly ends up working out. Those impeccable flow actors still doing the most work that we need, and then it's basically always the end of this fight. What it doesn't work against are the puppets. The puppets are really kind of mean. Before we reached 120 and had the old speed system where you have like the PvE rules and you were always faster than the enemies, a good way to fight those puppets were basically 5 armorers with a carry, and most of those puppets could be beat by 5 armorers with a carry, and now that is sadly no longer working. You could use 10-star armorers, and now the puppets are faster than the 10-star armorers, and of course they get slaughtered. And even if you upgrade them to E5, I sadly had to notice they still get slaughtered, which isn't that great. Haven't tried V4 yet. I'm still a little bit low on Stellar, so not really an option for me. What I've done instead, I've used like this team. It's like Olivia is in here. I still have her as a Homeowner most of the time. Use a Panda. It was before yesterday. I had to take the inference off of that. And then basically all of those heroes have crowns. So we used a super tanky team actually to fight the enemy. And this actually worked out quite well. Of course this doesn't work against all the puppets, but like Plunder for example. To an extent against Cruelty. Cruelty is always pretty hard. They have dot and tend to kill off a lot of those enemies, but I think the fights that I've done against Cruelty, I've watched them all. SFX most of the time, no, all of the time actually, could kill the last 2 puppets, and basically that worked out. What of course helps this team is the Mockman core. The Mockman core in the front row provides a fair bit of damage reduction, lets this team survive the first initial round, the first initial turn 1. Then we get an Olivia shrink, so one of those puppets becomes pretty useless, and those multi-layered hits actually enable the Panda to scale. The Panda, as I said was before, can survive at E5, so you will need him at V4, maybe even a few Homeowner stats, depending on your copy. Mine is pretty crappy, so he often dies off early on, but not without giving enough buffs for us to actually kill the puppets. Overall, I have to say, sustain teams seem to work a little bit more reliable against against most puppets. Then those burst copies, of course, against Atrocity or Despair, you can't use the same teams. Those are special. They were before. Atrocity needs a burst lineup. Despair needs something to negate all of the CC that comes in. But that's another topic, really. For now, I think this team that I'm using here is rather fine, does rather well. There are things that can kill it, but it really comes down to get the one proper run where you get 3 good clears, can fight the puppets, can do everything, and then you unlock Perfect Smash. And Perfect Smash is basically the end of Realmsgate. If you have that unlocked for the highest Void Corruption, Realmsgate is done for you. The game will take care of everything and you are fine, and just have to worry about setting the proper route that the Smash takes, and don't have to worry about fighting the enemies or which team you eventually use. So really mostly comes down to that. Get the right clear and you will be good. One more thing I have to say, I kind of like that. And the main reason I like that is you have a little bit of a Vortex type character to Realmsgate now, in that you prepare a specialized team, maybe set some resources even in the right way, focus on a special home on or something, and then you do one push, get your 3 perfect clears, and then you are done. You are done with Realmsgate and you don't have to worry about it anymore, and you collect your loot every day and just be happy with it. And I think that was a great upgrade that DH actually did, and it was absolutely needed. I really didn't like Realmsgate. It felt like it required some effort for a great amount of time, and actually there are just so many game modes in this game that it's oftentimes doesn't even feel like an idle game anymore. So having the Realmsgate adjusted in that it can be perfect smashed and that you don't have to worry about it anymore is certainly huge and certainly great, and definitely a step in the right direction. I was not even talking about the loot at all. The loot, of course, is also great to have a little bit more here, but I think it really comes down to the Perfect Smash. The Perfect Smash just making that loot no longer active, in that it needs an active involvement to actually be able to be earned or collected, and instead making it a passive income, mostly passive income. I think that's the biggest part and the biggest loot change, and what is actually huge about that. Now I wonder, where are you guys actually in the Realmsgate? Which Void Corruption did you unlock? Are you at 140? Did you have any experience with it? Which teams do you use? Which is your main carry hero? Are you happy with it? Just a lot of questions. I hope some of you guys write some stuff in the comments. I would really care about that. And with that, guys, I think we can end the video here. I wish you guys a great day, and we will see us in the next one. Just a small one to the end. I think I can add this clip. Kind of forgot about that. I might want to show you guys a puppet fight. We're just gonna use that team now with the E5 Panda. It's probably gonna die rather early, but I wanted to show you guys how this actually looks and how that actually works. And we can see that, and of course you see all those hits, and we got a few buffs out of it, but the Panda of course died rather early here, which isn't that great. We got a second shrink, and the damage that now comes in is actually rather low. Can of course be entirely healed by the Ferric Investor. We get some blocks from the SFX as well, so SFX sublimation attack buff now is working rather well. As we can see here, already 19 stacks, 19% more attack on SFX, and the puppet is really not getting through our shields. Really the power of Crown is working quite well here, getting the shrinks as well, so those puppets do a lot less damage. But one thing, you really have to end it rather soon, so SFX is really important for that. You can see the team worked rather well. Having the Olivia here is also quite nice. I think mostly those front 2 puppets were shrinked, and they did a lot less damage than this one, that I think was never shrinked. And if we had the proper Panda with the proper setup, we would have even more scaling, could take much more damage then, and of course we had higher attack and would have cleared it a fair bit earlier. So that is a tactic I think you can have a look at as well.